Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Storyteller's Corner. I'm your host, Joshua T Calkins-Treworgy, also known as Byron Sidious. In the publishing realm, particularly in the small/independent press arena, one of the long-time kind of champions and most efficient and effective methodologies or outlets for self-production of one's fiction works or nonfiction works, whatever your choice may be, in ebook format, has been the site/service known as Draft2Digital. They have recently announced a change in ongoing policy in the future. They are going to be requiring a setup or startup fee for new authors and contributors, as well as an ongoing annual $12 fee for authors in order to produce their works through Draft2Digital. This is a one-time upfront payment of $20 and then an annual fee of $12, but it only will apply to those authors whose works do not break a specific earnings or royalty generation through line or a standard. And thus far, there has not been a solidly confirmed minimum required sales or revenue generation guideline that they have put down in order to waive that annual fee. A lot of speculation has been put forth that it will probably be in the range of $100 per in order to waive that fee. And there is quite a bit of kerfuffle, a lot of upset from folks who've been longtime users of the Draft2Digital system for a couple of reasons. The primary reason a lot of folks are citing is, well, we can just go over to Amazon and use their KDP program, their Kindle Direct Publishing program, free of charge. All we need is an Amazon account in order to utilize and make use of the KDP publishing program, without realizing that Draft2Digital does not harvest a metric shit ton of your user data the way that Amazon does. Additionally, people seem to be overlooking the fact that in terms of distribution, Draft2Digital does allow people to distribute through various online retailers such as barnesandnoble.com, Kobo Books, Google Books, Apple Books, and even, yes, Amazon as a distributor. If you go direct through KDP, through Kindle Direct Publishing, you can ultimately try to get your way or your title marketed onto, or rather distributed to those other options, but they're not automatic the way that they are inclusive in a Draft2Digital account. I myself do not have a Draft2Digital account. I do not use Draft2Digital. I've been using for a long time Lulu.com. One of the other big kerfuffles is that folks are saying, well, this is going to present as a new kind of gatekeeping. And in independent and small press publishing, part of the drive that sent a lot of storytellers to things like Draft2Digital was in order to bypass the longtime traditional gatekeepers of publishing. I must stress this. Gatekeeping is not always universally bad. I will get some flack for saying that, and I am prepared for that flack. I get it. Nobody wants to have to pay in order to produce their novels. But in the current day and age, with the ongoing enshittification of, frankly, AI slop being pounded over these publication and distribution avenues as an uncontrollable torrent, reducing the quality of the marketplace, of the material available, as well as straining the resources of services like Draft2Digital. They don't have infinite server storage space for every text file, rich text file, Adobe Acrobat file, cover art file that's going to be submitted to their systems for keeping on hand for either print on demand or distribute on demand for an ebook digital file. I'm not trying to throw up a blanket universal defense of decisions like this. It does suck for folks who've been longtime supporters of Draft2Digital. I get it. Nobody wants to have to pay for access in order for pay to play. But given how much generated slop there is, you have to understand. Sorry about that brief disruption. But nobody is going to enjoy this gatekeeping tactic or technique. But I implore you to think on this. The traditional gatekeepers used to be literary agents and acquisitions editors who, if you did not have a network of connections that you attained through your collegiate training or education, or for those of us like myself who don't have college experience, didn't make those connections and inroads into the publishing industry, by comparison, a $20 one-time upfront fee or a $12 annual fee to have access to the tools required to continue self-production of your narrative works, it's not much of a gatekeeper. Again, I get it. Folks get accustomed to not having to pay for access to these things, and it becomes a little bit of an irritation, because it is irritating. In life, you're going to face irritations, and you're going to have to buckle down and decide if you want to deal with the irritation in order to maintain access and continue using the tools that you've had access to, or find another way. And that's a perfectly viable option and path to take. You could go to Lulu. I'm not going to push that too hard. I don't work for them. I don't have any kind of partnership with them. I just utilize them a lot. You could go to Amazon. I don't know if Smashwords is still in operation, but if that is, that's another option. Coupled with the recent, almost brain-dead decision, from my perspective, of Amazon to effectively brick every Kindle e-reading device made and sold prior to 2013. It's 2012 and before. And render those devices obsolete, thus compelling people to purchase new devices. It would seem that the digital or ebook landscape is coming under a great deal of pressure. Most of it from AI slop merchants. This was something that was warned about. A lot of folks saw what was coming down the pike with ChatGPT and Grok and Claude and what have you. And they said, this is going to be a problem. And a lot of folks said, no, if you're a talented storyteller, you've got nothing to worry about, because the quality of the material that you produce will outshine the AI slop. There's a problem with that too, though. A lot of these AI tech firms and tech bros are very much in the camp of, these programs are going to train on books that they're pirating, that they're getting a hold of through illicit or unknown illegal means. Copyright protection of intellectual property is a joke in 90% of the world. So best of luck trying to protect your precious projects. Someone's going to use it to train their AI on your style, your narrative voice, your tactics and techniques, your methodologies, and you're screwed. But that's not really what happens. What ends up happening more often than not is that these programs end up training on the garbage that they've been putting out. It's going to end up collapsing in on itself. It is going to take some time, and there's going to be a great deal of pain involved in waiting to get to that point. But it is going to happen. In the meantime, Draft2Digital is trying to shore up a defense against the deluge of non-human generated material. Because an AI program is not going to go over that barrier on its own. Now, there are agentic AI programs out there that are going to be granted access to somebody's credit card or debit card or some kind of financial information and tools in order to automatically pay for those things to continue this slop deluge. That's going to happen. I can see that coming down the road already, and I'm not exactly a genius by any stretch. But that's going to be a method of getting around that particular barrier. I think we all can see that coming if we're thoughtful about what AI is already capable of. How many stories have we already read or heard about where agentic AI programs have gone rogue and stolen people's financial information and details and spent money on their credit cards or debit cards in order to make purchases of material things? Do you think purchasing a membership fee in order to get onto Draft2Digital is going to be beyond their capacities or capabilities? No, they're going to get their way around that pretty quick. And then Draft2Digital will find itself right back where they started. But from a company perspective, from a corporate perspective, what do they care? They're still going to be getting their money in order to pay for the infrastructure and the tools and programs and server space that they're already losing out on to this deluge of garbage. They're trying to look at it from a just pure numbers perspective, which I would offer is not going to help them. Indie publishing has for a long time been the preferred method for people to try and minimize the amount of friction between creating your artistic narrative work and getting it out there to the public, to the folks who are looking for something to read. There's always been that friction. It used to be people were the sources of friction. Gatekeepers, literary agents, acquisitions editors. Now there's another source of friction. The deluge of AI-generated slop. In the ebook space, there's only so many resources to go around to host these files, to make sure they're relevant and updated, to ensure that they can interact with and be compatible with current devices and programs for reading. There is one other solution, and I've banged on about this repeatedly. Find a method of making your book an actual, tangible, physical book. This doesn't take up server space. The file for the art and the interior takes up some space, yes. But it doesn't take up distribution space for an ebook. And because these independently produced books are produced when they're purchased, they are print on demand. You don't have to have a ton of these sitting in a warehouse somewhere taking up physical, tangible space. There's just going to be enough of these produced for those folks who are actually making the purchase. I don't have all the solutions. I don't have perfect solutions. These are just suggestions. And again, I'm no great genius. But, and even as someone who doesn't use Draft2Digital, I am abjuring thee. don't try to light them on fire for doing something to try and slow down the damage that is being caused by these slop merchants of AI. They're just trying to stem back the tide. Try to hold off for long enough for people to recognize they don't want that shit. And maybe they'll reverse their decision. Who knows? Or what is more likely going to happen, what I suspect will happen, is that other ebook production and distribution outlets are going to look at what Draft2Digital is doing and say, maybe we should do that too. I suspect that Amazon is going to take a look at what Draft2Digital is doing and say, you know what, that's smart. We should require KDP authors to have a Prime account, because right now they don't. They're going to say we should make people pay at least a modicum fee in order to utilize our KDP options. Eventually, Lulu's going to end up doing it too. I can almost guarantee that. I'm not trying to be a doomsayer. I'm not trying to black pill you, my fellow storytellers. I'm just trying to observe what's happening and try to offer some explanation for why it's happening. And to the folks who do utilize AI programs to churn out dozens of titles per week and glut the marketplace with absolute drivel that's artificially constructed, fuck you. This is on you. You people did this because you didn't have the talent or you didn't have the inspiration and the drive to actually sit down and construct an original piece of fiction. You just wanted to secure your bag and a quick payday and dart out of the arena. You don't actually care about the art. You care about your bank account. Those kinds of folks disgust me. Cheers.